moving uniformly from a continental plate tectonics point of view. We're all aware of the Nubia and Somalia plate. I'm just curious. I don't know if we're all aware of the extent that our own countries are deforming, and along the East African Rift Valley there are a lot of in situ observation instruments that we can actually determine some level of deformation, but within the rest of the continent where there is no instruments, we actually don't have an idea what's going on. I think this was said early on as well. Yeah, the next point I want to say is that there's huge investment in Africa. I'm just putting up my country here. This is just the exploration licenses that are sought just outside South Africa. And I want to also emphasize that when we think of Africa, AFREF, we should also think of the marine space. The marine economy is exploding. Exploitation thereof has been happening for a long time, but I think oversight thereof is, governments are increasingly understanding the need to regulate the exploitation of offshore resources, and the need to demarcate, delineate, and understand that is also coming into our, we're being approached with these kind of questions, and so the in geodesy in the marine space is something that we also have to understand in a much better light as well. Like I said, the socio-economic and political cost of ambiguously defined rights on land and sea is huge. Where does the diamonds belong? Especially, for example, South Africa and Namibia, there's a lot of diamonds where the Orange River comes out, and just a few meters this way or that way, it's a huge difference in who owns those resources. So there are lots of important areas where we can explain the importance of precise positioning and unambiguously defining these kind of parameters. I want to just for those that are not aware, that the first attempt at AFREF was the 30th arc of meridian, and known worldwide as a triangulation system that stretches from South Africa northwards all the way to Cairo. Started in 1879, and 1910 there was the arc measurement was completed to about 9 degrees south, and then in 1950 the whole arc was nearly completed except for a stretch in northern Uganda and southern Sudan, and that was completed by the US Army in 1954. And in 2004 we unveiled a plaque to commemorate the 125th anniversary of the project, and the 50th anniversary of the completion. We are also there's an attempt to create the longest World Heritage Site selected monuments of the 30th arc of meridian. There's an attempt, but it's really difficult because you need buy-in from the respective countries. So we have been asking the countries that were part of the 30th arc of meridian to select a few of the existing monuments that was used in the arc as part of the longest World Heritage Site, and obviously relating to the arc of the 30th arc of meridian. Sorry, not sure how this thing is moving. Whoops, sorry. Got it. Sorry, I'm not.
It's all right. I think it's because the guys have got the display screen settings in there.
Oh,
Are we still on there?
yeah. How do we get? I must have just use this pad.
And then just go down. Just
Okay.
press down.
Yeah, thanks. I'm saying the obvious here that Africa is characterized by a multitude of non-geocentric datums, ellipsoids, and different projections, and leveling datums as well, with a clear correlation to the colonial past. So if you had a German colonial past, Schwarzenegger, the Bessel ellipsoid, Clark 1880. I'm picking on my colleague here. Clark 1866 for the Portuguese, and so on and so on. So there's a clear correlation with the colonial past in terms of the datum that the respective country has used. I'm just going to mention a few. We got the Adindan datum, the ARC 1950, ARC 1960, the Lighthouse datum, the Bassau datum, the Mina datum. There's so many datums in Africa, and this is a reason, for example, why organizations like EPSG and things try to document things, because they need to do business in Africa, and without this information, without knowing what is in the country, how do you work in that country, and how do you relate projects between two countries? It becomes quite a difficult task. But the problem is also one of the hugest problems is, and it's still there, is the lack of authoritative and publicly available information. There is not a single inventory of who's got what in Africa. You try to Google it, it's almost impossible to find. There's been recent attempts to create an inventory of country A. This is your datum. This is your coordinate system. This is your approximate transformation parameters to either I2RF or W34. The last comprehensive one that was done by NEMA, published in 2002. That was the last comprehensive list of transformation parameters from local geodetic reference frames to a global one, and it was never repeated. So I'm just saying that there's no comprehensive information, and even authoritative organizations are not providing that information so that it can be in a central repository. The other point I want to raise, and I bring this up because it's very serious, is that the records of legacy systems are either destroyed or not well preserved. I've made a previous call to say we need to stop the rot of records. Every year will make a difference. We have to preserve our records, because once those records are lost in terms of the observations that we might need in terms of trying to determine transformation parameters between our legacy systems and a new system, if you don't have the records, there's nothing, you cannot compute transformation parameters. So it's a plea that we got to take stock of our records, of our archive, and make sure that it doesn't deteriorate further. Just interestingly, I wanted to point out that Angola has 4 datums, Mozambique has 3, and this is the case in many other countries. This was also because of sometimes legacy conflict issues that has taken place here. So this is, I'm painting the landscape not to be doom and gloom, but so that we can take practical cognizance of these things. These are the practical realities that we have to take cognizance of. But I think this is one of the big punchlines of my presentation here today is everybody has got a different situation. Everybody's level of preservation of their data and their historic records are different. I was told in Uganda, many of the beacons are totally destroyed. How do you compute transformation parameters if there's nothing to occupy and have common coordinates on? Some countries do have beacons, but they don't have records, or the records are destroyed, so the observations might not be able to be captured, so you can use all the observations. So I believe that this is a very urgent discussions that must be had to say how, because rights are based on existing control survey systems, cadastral rights, mineral rights, they're all based on that. So even if you have a sub-centimeter new reference frame, its value is severely diminished if you cannot relate your existing rights and existing information to the new reference frame. And I think that's really what I'm trying to drive in the last point, that one of the key things is to understand that path, but that where how do we what is our strategy, and I'm sure it'll be discussed during the course of the week. I think this was the original intention of the African Geodetic Reference Frame, to unify Geodetic Reference Frame tailored for Africa, fully compatible with I2RF. I think a lot of this will be repeated in my slide later on, so just forgive me that I'm skipping this now. So the first sorry, going too fast. Apologies. The first meetings of the AFREF, I'm only highlighting the key ones here, other than the training meetings. These are the formal ones. The concept was first proposed at the GSDI meeting held in Cape Town in South Africa in 2000. Since then, there were many meetings. The significant ones that I would like to point out. In 2002, there was AFREF was formalized as a project within UNCA. ECA, now UNECA is headquartered in Nairobi, and there was a Windhoek declaration, basically putting the AFREF under the giving political support to AFREF, because UNCA, you have official members of government attending there, and that is where it got official country level support was declared at the Windhoek declaration. Then there was the first AFREF working group meeting that was held in April 2016 during the fourth high-level forum UN-GGCE meeting at ECA. There's been meetings before that as well. I'm just pointing out, kind of fast-forwarding a little bit. And then there were subsequent meetings in 2017. And the last formal one was the third AFREF working group in 2018 at the ECA office, where the proposal were made for a revised governing structure. And unfortunately, when COVID happened, and there were no subsequent meetings or progress reports since 2018. So that is the unfortunate situation. The governance structure, I think, also collapsed. So that was the reality at that time. I just wanted to show you a bit of a fallback on a technical training workshop that happened in South Africa in 2006. I don't know if anybody's here from that was at that meeting.
Can see you.
Yeah, I'm there in the orange in that corner there. But it was just a throwback, going to this training. But so there's been a long history, and I don't think we would benefit from going through every meeting. But suffice to say that activity stopped in 2017. And then obviously a huge momentum was given when the UN 69th resolution took place. And we realized that GGRF is realized at 3 levels: global, regional, and local level. At the 10th meeting, this is last year in November, at the Regional Committee for UN-GGCE for Africa, it was resolved to reinstate an executive working group of the Regional Committee for Geodesy. So this is the latest development, that there will be an executive working group. Now remember, the UN-GGCE Africa has a representation from the officials of the governments, representation from the governments of those countries. So that gives the official support for the work that needs to be done. There has been a call for participation in these working groups, and it was extended because I don't think initially there wasn't as much response, but finally that process is concluded, and I believe a formal announcement will be made soon.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Bale will maybe at a later stage we'll talk about that. But of the formation of the executive working group for Geodesy, and I want to make a statement that we cannot afford to lose momentum to formalize this and confirm the TR. So we need to, in all earnest, get this working group formalized, and also work out the modalities how it'll work. There's been a lot of concern. I was speaking to some academics now to say, hey, it's going to be again just the Surveyor General who's going to exclude the academics. It's going to be, you know, and all the space agencies that might be doing more than what the Surveyor Generals are doing. So this is a real concern, and I will give one or two of my thoughts, which is not the thought of the executive working group, but it's just planting some seeds. But Mr. Bale also, so just to let you know, in terms of the working groups, UN-GGCE Africa, there are 4. The one is for, sorry, my eyesight is gone. Integrated Geospatial Information Framework. The other one is integration of geospatial and statistical data. There's also reference frames, African Geodetic reference frame, and then the last one is land administration. So these are the coordinator is sitting right next to us for Mr. Bale, but also the participation in the working group is not cast in stone. The more countries that participates, obviously the better, and this is not a closed shop. In terms of, I think you've seen this earlier, the contribution of Africa to ITRF in terms of the sparsity, but we hope that will change with the work of the and the advocacy of the executive working group on geodesy. Just a possible structure, and this is just to plant seeds in terms of possible way that this could work. Please, this is not an official one at all. It's looking at so the subcommittee on geodesy has got a representative from each region, really, and you know, there was and this is a bit naughty that there's like even hints at the NAREF, WAREF. These are just saying as sub-regions work together, even as sub-regions before, you know, working towards an African solutions, for example. As for example in Southern Africa, we have get together, do a local computation. So it's really just to encourage that kind of thinking in the working group structure. But on the one side, you have you know, those representations, and obviously not to. And I'm putting the kind of organizations and entities that we know will contribute significantly and make this a success. University and research organizations, obviously GGCE. We got RCMRD, AFREGIST, and then the IAG. We have to bring the IAG subcommittee in as well. Analysis center coordinators to us, you know, to advise on direction in that regard, and obviously FIG as well. This list is not exclusive; it's not even official at all, but it's just to give some idea of the thoughts. Where the thinking is in terms of putting up an executive working group, because I think the key message I wanted to bring here is that the executive working group will not just consist of member state representatives, but also representatives of key stakeholders mentioned here. The main objectives of so now I'm using the word AFREF project. Compared to AFREF, you know, because sometimes when we think of AFREF, we think of some realization of ITRF, but it's obviously far more than that. Develop a regional reference frame in line with the GGRF to enable direct seamless application of GI. Establish a continental reference system as a basis of national reference networks. To establish permanent GNSS base stations, such as users will be within 500 kilometers of a base station, and data is freely available to all users. The intention is that not all stations have to be available freely, but a core set of stations be available freely for the various applications envisaged. To realize a unified vertical datum that we shouldn't forget, and to support efforts to establish a precise African geoid. In terms of the terms of reference, some of the key work that the working group, so the terms of reference as well is not formalized. These are some of the thoughts and the initial documentation, initial proposals of what should be in the terms of reference. But some of the things that they would like to achieve is to provide justification, communication, and publicity for the project to political groupings, in particular the African Union, stakeholder, international organizations, and other users. For example, the African Union border program has been adopted by the African Union and gets a lot of political support when we do that. So similarly, the AFREF project, it is intended that we elevated that African Union, that basically the United Nations resolution gets cascaded down to African Union level, and it be announced at the African Union, just like the border program, that we're now in support of the AFREF project, and we all politically see the need and the importance of transitioning to a global reference frame. Provide advice and relevant assistance to member states in conjunction with the regional centers, IAG, and other stakeholders, such as FIG, for the improvement and maintenance of appropriate infrastructure to enhance AFREF, to coordinate the implementation of the AFREF project at the continental level, including the establishment of, I'm not going to say more AFREF data centers, there are none, of AFREF data centers, and an African Data Analysis Center. Ensure the alignment of AFREF with Global Geodetic Reference Frame, and set guidelines and standards for AFREF in coordination with the IAG and FIG. Big one is to secure funding, equipment, and resources to ensure the success of AFREF, liaison with international organizations, and for guidance, human resource, and infrastructure capacity development in conjunction with regional centers to organize training workshops and seminars. Yes, one evidence of that. To assist member states in conjunction with the GGCE and regional centers to develop and implement outreach programs for societies to appreciate the utility values of the national, regional, and global geodetic reference frame. I think this is all in line with the roadmap that was already developed by the community. Undertake any other activity that may be deemed relevant to the activities of the working group. So this was just the draft terms of reference that was formulated. I just want to perhaps say there's no AFREF yet in terms of a practical realization. There was a last computation in 2014. There's unfortunately been no subsequent computations, primarily due to the lack of availability of data, common data to, for a specified period. I don't believe it's a lack of ability to compute. But there has been a lot of networking amongst institutions and practitioners. I think that a lot of that is taking place. We're starting to learn about each other and know about each other, and a lot of that is due to the work of the GGCE and the activities that are happening. Also, activities like reference frame in action, workshops by FIG that goes with working weeks also assists usually in that regard. There's been a significant publication, AFREF Permanent Station Guidelines, that was published, also with assistance with FIG as well. Capacity building on AFREF done annually. I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but at the RCMRD, they host AFREF, or basically training workshops, currently limited to member states of RCMRD. I acknowledge that that is a gap in why is West Africa and North Africa left out? It's probably a question we all got to ask ourselves, but that does happen, at least there. There is an interim AFREF data holding center at the office that I'm at. So that's been there at NGI, and member states who are willing or able to make their data available, we fetch it from them and we put it on a central repository in a standardized format. For example, if it's in the RINEX 2 format, we'll rename it in the RINEX 3 format. in a certain and pack and put it in the IGS compliant data structure. So that I'll show the details of that. But South Africa has been doing that for some time, and with limited contribution from some countries, but there has been an increase in the countries willing to make data available. So for the time being, until there's a permanent data center, South Africa is hosting anybody who's willing to contribute African reference station data. The nice thing is it's openly and easily accessible and findable by anybody. You just go ftp.tignet.za and you'll find it. There's no quorum. So whoever is willing and able to contribute, even if it's one station for your country, we will host it for you. And if there's any conditions, the very least is we ask that you make your 30-second data available. If you're not willing or able to make your 1-second data available, at least make your 30-second data available so that it can be used for geodetic applications. The implementation tool of UN-GGCE for Africa proposes the what am I saying now? I'm fumbling. One of the resolutions was that the UN-GGCE Africa undertake an inventory survey of established cores in every country. Part of that survey included what coordinate system, what datum are you currently using. I think at my last recollection, there was about 16 responses. 16, yeah. So unfortunately, till today, we only have 16 responses from the respective countries. We wanted to use that as the basis of this comprehensive inventory of who's got what in Africa. And we're asking member states, and if anybody here is able to facilitate that information, it's still possible to the questionnaire can still be filled out, and that can still be then added to the database that will be made centrally available. I think just in terms of just continuing with the distribution of core stations, they're not sharing data either because they are not able to. The stations are not they physically established. A lot of countries have physically established core stations because they had donor funding to install the physical infrastructure, but the operational cost of retrieving the data, unfortunately, the business case or the funding didn't come through, and so a lot of countries, although there might be a willingness to share data, they are not able to share data, and some countries are just not willing to share data as well. I think different methods can be used to determine optimal number of GNSS stations to meet AFREF criteria. So even if you give one station, it's better than nothing. Many countries are in the process of establishing GNSS networks soon, while following the AFREF guidelines. We ask that in terms of the data structure, the monumentation and things, there are really, really good guidelines, and we urge all member states to please follow that as best as possible. But obviously, it's not sometimes the capital cost, it's the operational cost of maintaining and sustaining the network. One point that we want to bring up here is that the proliferation of commercial cores networks is happening throughout Africa. The number of commercial core stations outnumber the number of official core stations available in Africa. So clearly there is a need. No business will put up a cores network if there's no economic need. And so if there's an economic need, it is obviously contributing to the economy of the country. So clearly, and creating and contributing to the GDP. So clearly, we are not able to successfully convincing our respective governments that cores networks is part of essential infrastructure. It's like a road. Without a road, you can't trade. And similarly, without a course infrastructure, you cannot do positioning properly and a whole lot of knock-on effects. So if the cause networks are able to create a business case to actually fund this themselves and make business, and so, you know, we can learn something from the commercial operators as well. And there are a lot of unknown scientific networks. You find out from this one and that one that this consortium has got GNSS there and there, and it's just unknown. And so as far as possible, the very least is we should know what networks are in our country. As far as possible, the very least is we should have, each country should have full knowledge of what infrastructure is there, even though they might not have control of it. But even that is not necessarily the case. Just as far as the GEOID project is concerned, I think the last work that was published on the African GEOID project, the previous one was by Dr. Charles Merry. This was the last one, precise GEOID for Africa, published in 2019. I'm not aware of what work has happened subsequent to that. But just to paint the picture further in terms of vertical datums, the situation is probably even more, I think, unknown. Our leveling datums are, even the documentation of how it was constrained is unknown. So that is another area that we should not neglect in terms of trying to document what we have in terms of vertical datums. How do we look at change in sea level if we you know, don't even understand our own country's origins? How was it adjusted? You know, what do we use as constraints? We don't know. So it's a lot of things that I believe the documentation of what we have, why it's so critical. Just in terms of AFREF hosting, and unfortunately our AFREFdata.org server has crashed, what do you call it, terminally. It is, we were in the stage of transitioning from old legacy servers to new servers, and before we could finalize that, it crashed. Luckily, we did have backups of the data, so all the African station data of those who contributed are sitting at trignet.co.za. It's all sitting there under the folder AFREF data. So you'd be AFREF data and then South African data. So it's all sitting there. And we are working on creating, giving people rights of authorized users rights to push the data and put it in the respective places. But for the moment, you can contact us, and we will fetch it from wherever you say we can fetch it and put it in the right place. But the one thing that you will then, the idea is that any African data that is freely available, you will be able to find here, and then you can do computations. So my office does, unfortunately, you know, we go through the pains of saying, oh, there's a 2-week gap in station in Ghana. We then contact the operators to say, please, can you know, did you retrieve the data? Then we try to do so. But at the end of the day, it becomes quite onerous on, for example, our office to try to do that. And we hope that the respective countries will take ownership of to say, okay, if your data is missing and you manage to retrieve it, that you then upload it yourself, or you inform us to say, you know, upload it. So we merely aware us, but respective countries, we urging respective countries to please take ownership of their data, and the more they put there, the more it becomes to the benefit of the continent to have. Yeah, I think there's also our colleagues at RCMRD has recently put up a course map, and you can see it's growing here. I think I just saw this morning they put Morocco somewhere in the ocean. I don't know. There's some shift in the coordinates, but you can see there's yeah, so this site is not a warehouse, it's just a information site of what stations are out there. And eventually we would like to have one site, one repository of all the sites and their metadata and their uptime, and hopefully even a live map of stations but we'll get there. And I think with the assistance of new projects coming up, it's going to happen. But this is a situation we have the data sitting on at the TigNet site, and we have information about this, where the stations are on this course map. We would like continuity. We don't want to jump from one site to another site, and I think you don't want another site happening in few weeks, few months time. So I think the working group needs to, once they adopt something, we have to do everything in our power to make sure the continuity, the long-term continuity of the data warehouse, or maybe houses, and perhaps the information site that will be going with that. I think. I'm done now. Most countries in Africa needs a roadmap to modern geodetic reference frame. We'll be talking about that this week. But I want to also, the context is important in terms of where we are. Everybody's at a different starting point. And I think we need to share our strategies, because a lot of countries can learn from each other. So this is what we did in our country. And the more we share, the more other countries can also then try to either replicate that if it makes sense. So we pray that the working group will start with its business soon. The success of the new AFREF project governing structure will depend on the support and the commitment of member states, UN organs, scientific organizations, FIG, and academia. The subcommittee on geodesy members are expected to play a key role as regional coordinators. And subcommittee members are Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Madagascar, Morocco, Nigeria, South Africa, Tanzania, and Tunisia. So, Nick and Chair, this is my presentation, and I submit. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Aslam. We've got time for one quick question before our final presentation of the day. So has anyone got one quick question? Izzy, thank you.
For the wonderful presentation. Like you just said, there is no AFREF. I just have one question. I saw that you mentioned FIG among the ex-officio that will be working, collaborating with the working group. And I know that FIG Commission 5, they are very passionate about geodesy, positioning, and measurement. So I want to know how FIG will collaborate, will come into this project, to facilitate this AFREF initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. Just to clarify, I'm the current chair of the FIG Commission 5 on positioning and measurement, and we host an annual reference frame and practice workshop as part of our annual event. We would be extremely happy to continue to represent the voice of the surveyors, especially the geodesists across Africa around this initiative. And one of the things that I'll offer to do and can offer to do is, in conjunction with the FIG Congress that will be in Cape Town next year in May, I can offer to arrange a session at the FIG to gather together for the AFREF community, the working group, to use that platform also to share the efforts and the activities of what AFREF is doing and will be doing to the greater geospatial community. So just to clarify there, that FIG wouldn't be creating that agenda or the materials or delivering, but we're more than happy to give a platform to FIG members at a prestigious event like this for the AFREF community to share the benefits of what they are doing and want to do with their geodetic activities, and also to engage with a greater cross-section of the geospatial community who are using and will be benefiting from this modernized reference frame. So that's a formal offer.
Thank you very much. I forgot to bring up the last slide. It wasn't like this is my last slide. So South Africa will be hosting FIG Congress next year in beautiful Cape Town, for those of you that haven't been there. And we are looking forward to your full, as much participation as possible. It'll be a great event, and we're looking forward to your participation there. Thank you.
request for the AFREF guidelines. You mentioned in your presentation the guidelines. I have tried searching for it. I can't find it. So where can we get the guidelines? I mean, particularly for countries that are now developing their establishing cost stations around the country. I think that will be very, very much important for us. Where can we get the guidelines?
Yeah, I think that was, like I said, it was done in collaboration with FIG. We can make it available to this group, or we can even ask. I don't know if we can put it on the website.
I'll be sharing some more information about some of these guidelines through some of the international Geodesy initiatives, and I'll be making reference to guidelines that FIG and also the International GNSS Service have raised about GNSS cores. So they'll be shared on Wednesday.